Now come to order. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Ray, followed by a moment of reflection.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
The clerk will call the roll. Please correct the pronunciation of your name if it is incorrect. If you're here, just say present or here really loud so they can hear you.
Kopp, Copeland, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry, Gary, Hamilton, Hargrave, Hodges, Olbert, Kluge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Lorzy, Matthews.
Does Matthews have a proxy?
Modica, Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Ramkisson, Roach, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Spurgeon, Terhune, Taloka, Vaught, Walker, Ward, Ware, Young.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the journal of March 4th, 2026 as found online? Is there a second? We are now in line for general orders of the Senate. Beginning with reports from Senate leadership. Seeing none. We will now have a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none. We will now have a report from the Constitutional Council. Are there any representatives from the Constitutional Council present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Student Senate, Dapolito, and I recognize myself. Hey guys, welcome to the First Senate. I'm so happy you all could make it. Thank you so much for being here, and just bear with us. We're all new here. We're trying to get it as great as we can. I think we have an exciting night ahead of us, and I yield my time to questions. I yield to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body Treasurer. Treasurer Ashley Reynolds, you are recognized.
Hey everyone, so happy to be back. I just thought I would start off by introducing myself since I haven't had the pleasure of meeting some of you guys. So my name is Ashley. I was our Student Body Treasurer last year, so I was re-elected to this role again. Some things about me: I'm a junior studying risk management in insurance, finance, and criminal justice. So I'm going into anti-money laundering. That's kind of my shtick if you ever want to talk about it. I love talking about it. What else? So we just selected my staff, which are sitting over here on the left. So my chief of staff for this year is going to be Daniel Violette. My deputy chief of staff is going to be Houston. My press secretary is going to be Ian. He just walked out. My deputy press secretary is Delaney Williams. My legislative liaison is Jasper Ryan. My chief advisor is Emma Strickland. And then our director of outreach is Iris Sanders. So super excited for the year ahead. Some things just to chat about. So I know that we have a finance committee. It'll be on Friday. I do join that committee every Friday, so super excited to see some of you there. Some things we're going to be chatting about, some new changes to our reimbursement system going into next year. If you're interested in chatting about that, please join Finance Committee. Some changes to our partial funding, we'll also be chatting about that. Some other things, our RFP got approved for our new Garnet Gate platform, so we're really behind on it, so it's kind of being fast-tracked. So anything that you guys kind of want to see in the next platform, please let me know by Friday. That is when our scope of work is due on the contract. Some things we already have right now are like integration with 25 Live, a calendar that you can have on there, a communications platform. So really anything in your dreams that you want to be on a new student engagement platform, please let me know by Friday. One of the reimbursement things we're looking at is how to engage students into actually submitting their reimbursements. Right now we have a lot of money that we allocated out but isn't necessarily being requested for reimbursement. So one of the things we're talking through is maybe doing like a 30, 60, 90 day, whatever we see fit after research policy where after the event happens, you have like to a certain date to request your reimbursement money, but we'll chat more about that on Friday if you're interested. And then Gift for Garnet was today. Thank you guys so much for coming. I think so far we've raised like $940,000, which is super exciting. We're trying to, last year we raised $1.5 million, so trying to exceed that. But this is the first time the event's been back in over 10 years. And I just absolutely loved how many people came out and showed support. So thank you so much. But with that, I give my time to questions.
The treasurer yields to questions. Are there any questions for the treasurer? Senator Hamilton. Granted. Lost it. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line from a report from the student body vice president. Vice President Myron Harris, you are recognized.
Hey everyone, I know most of you because I came to Senate training on Sunday. Just some quick updates. I had a preliminary meeting for Walkathon, and I'll have follow-up meetings with that. I have one on April 10th at 11 to talk about sponsorships and deliverables. So if you guys have any ideas for that, please reach out to me on that note. Also, Safety Walk is most likely going to be April 20th from 7:15 to 8:15, so keep an eye out on that. I've been working with USC PD facilities and parking and transportation to get that together. Also, my comms team, whenever they're selected, they'll be going under training with Ms. Cynthia, who's the Assistant Director of Social Media. We just want to make sure student government's branding and engagement and graphics are up to par for what we think the organization should have. And then lastly, my last update is I have tentative dates for Let's Clear the Air, which is a comprehensive feedback event that we talked about last semester. We're going to, with the last administration, we're going to try to get that done before the end of the year. I have some finalized details coming out, and then after talking with exec, I'll send that information to you. Other than that, I yield the floor.
The vice president yields to questions. Are there any questions for the vice president? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the student body president. President Cole Rotundo, you are recognized.
Hey everyone. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. I'm also seeing a lot of new ones, which is always great. Many of you might not know this, but I've been coming and giving a report to Senate for the past 2 years now. Started off as a historian when I would give it for Pat Byers, and occasionally last year when I would give it for former President Courtney Tack. So great to be back here, to be back in front of this body as president. A few quick updates for you. And real quick, I'll introduce myself as well. So I'm Cole Rotundo. I'm a risk management insurance major from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. I've been at Carolina, for the past 3 years as a junior, and I've fallen in love with this school. So to be in this position and be able to serve it is amazing, and to be able to work with all of you who are looking at achieving the same goal. So currently, I'm in transitions. Being in my first week, I've been meeting with a lot of administration, getting my face out there, getting caught up to speed on a lot of the different initiatives we have going on, which has been great. Recently, I had an AED meeting with the Center of Health and Wellbeing to get that off the floor. What I didn't know is that they had been working on this behind the scenes, and now it's kind of coming to fruition for us trying to get a policy and get some more AEDs on campus, because if you know anything about that, we don't have a lot of them. And then working with the Residence Hall Association, I know they had that as one of their big priorities too in housing, so that's going to be something really great going forward. I've been also meeting with the Office of the Provost. I had meetings with Rex Tolliver and President Amaritas, and they're really excited about this year, especially given that we have such qualified senators among us. And that kind of brings me to one of my big points, which is Senate collaboration. one person can't do this role, 4 people can't do this role. It's really calling on everybody, especially Senate, to do the best work we possibly can. So if there's ever a time that I can be of assistance to you all, I would love to be. I really want to emphasize the relationship between senators and secretaries for cabinet. I think that's a underutilized place, and I know that thinking about last year, Jacob Booten and Lennox Poviak had a great working relationship, so trying to kind of replicate that going forward. I just want to kind of go through some of my confirmations that you'll hear today. So my chief of staff will be Graham Flaherty, my historian will be Jonathan Hamdar, my press secretary will be Anna Machado, and then my outreach coordinator will be Grayson Aldrich. So if you have any questions about any of those individuals, please ask and reach out if any of you need anything throughout this year. I'm really looking forward to serving with all of you. With that, I'll use my time for questions.
The president yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
Adoption of the rules and procedures of the 118th Student Senate.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to adopt the rules and procedure of the 118th Student Senate as found online? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The rules of procedure of the 118th Student Senate is adopted. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
Election of the Speaker pro tempore of the Student Senate.
We are now in line for the election of the Speaker pro tempore of the Student Senate. The floor is now open for nominations. Are there any nominations? Senator Seitler. Senator Fry has been nominated. Are there any more motions? Senator Walker. Senator Ward has been nominated. Are there any more nominations? Senator Ward. Senator Walker has been nominated. Are there any other motions? Senator Lewis. Senator Morgan has been nominated. Are there any more motions? Seeing none, the floor is now closed for nominations. Senator Fry, you are recognized to speak. Senator Lewis. This isn't a debate, it's just a speech period. There's no limit.
So I know there's some new faces out there, so I'll just first introduce myself. My name is Matthew Fry. I'm a senior mass communications major here on campus, and I've served in student government for over a year now. Throughout my time as a student senator, I've had the privilege of serving as the vice chair of the Finance, Academics, and the Powers and Responsibilities Committees. There I was able to work with the chairpersons to ensure that meetings went smoothly and information was communicated to members. Being able to serve in this role has allowed me to communicate one-on-one with other senators about issues they have surrounding legislation. I've been able to collaborate on pieces aimed at making a huge impact on campus, such as a mural for the Darla Moore Tunnel, recommendations focusing on fixing harmful petitions in certain buildings across campus, as well as implementing new ramps and handlebars for students with disabilities. I believe that the respectful debate and conversations that are had in student government is what makes it so great. And while I understand that my time here is limited, I want to use that time to make a larger impact. I hope that you will consider putting your trust in me to serve as your next Speaker pro tempore. I am ready to serve with professionalism and a willingness to work with all senators to improve this university. And I'll end with a quote from a professor of mine who, for an unrelated reason, was supposed to be here. But we had finished up the last day of class, and she had told me, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do. Thank you. I yield to questions.
Senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Senator Ward is now recognized to speak.
Fight for the things you care about, but do so in a way that will encourage others to join you. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is my favorite quote, and it speaks to me in everything that I do. Student Senate, I am so excited to be entering this term with you. If you don't know me, my name is Peyton Ward, and I'm running to be your next Speaker Pro Tempore. The Speaker Pro Tempore helps assist the speaker and foster a positive environment in the Student Senate. I find this role compelling and inspiring. When there's a job that needs to get done, I'm on it. With over 3 years of youth and government experience, I have thrived in stepping up and leading in a rigorous environment. During high school, I served as a presiding officer that watched over a Senate session just like this one, kept it in order, and collaborated with other student leaders. I transferred from my first college in order to seek out more possible opportunities, and one like this is something I know that I'd love. I have a passion for law, debate, and the challenge of it all. But alongside that, I have a passion for community. I've met so many cool people already, and I ran on a ticket that has so many talented individuals. I would honor the role of Speaker Pro Tempore with everything I do, and I'm enthusiastic about representing and serving with you all. I want us to fight for the things that we care about, while others in the Senate feel seen enough, heard enough, and valued enough to join us in those pursuits. That, to me, that is true leadership. And that is exactly how I want to represent our speaker and all of you as Speaker Pro Tempore. Again, my name is Peyton Ward, and I'm ready to step up in this possible opportunity. I yield to any questions you may have.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Senator Walker is now recognized to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Brooke Walker, and I currently serve as a representative for the second time of the College of Arts and Sciences. Last term, I was in the 117th Student Senate, and I also served as Judiciary Vice Chair for a month. Over my time in the 117th Senate, I had worked to be someone who showed up, followed through, and took this role seriously. Not just a title, but as a responsibility to an entire Senate. I believe the role of Speaker Pro Tempore is not just to step in when needed, but to help keep this body organized, professional, and productive. Student Senate only works when we work together. That means clear communication, respect for each other's ideas, and leadership that is focused on getting things done, not just holding a position. If elected, I want to make sure meetings run smoothly, senators feel supported in writing and presenting legislation, and that we continue to operate in a way that students can be proud of. I also want to be someone you can rely on. This position requires someone who is organized, prepared, and willing to step up at any time. Through my experience presenting legislation, speaking every week in the 117th Student Senate, and working in leadership roles outside of this room, I am confident that I can fill this role effectively and professionally. Most importantly, I care about this Senate and the work that we do. We all volunteer our time to be here, and that time should be respected by making sure our meetings are efficient, our goals are clear, and our work actually makes a difference for students. I would be honored to serve as your Speaker Pro Tempore, and I would truly appreciate your vote. Before I end, this is my motto when I lead in any situation. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. By Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you. I now give my time to your questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Senator Morgan is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is good to be back here in the Student Senate. For those of you who do not know me, I did serve in the 114th, 115th, and 116th Student Senate. That being said, you might sit here and say, oh, well, it's quite a long time, and you're right, it is. And during my time as a student senator, By the time that I left office, at the conclusion of my first stint in the Senate, I was the Senate's dean, which meant I was the most senior member of the Senate. I had the highest seniority. So I'm like farmers insurance. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. Now, why should I be the next Speaker Pro Tem for? I'm sure you're asking yourself that. One of the candidates just mentioned that they would like to be focused on leadership that's focused on getting things done and work that makes a difference and goals being clear. Well, I check all of those boxes, folks. Let me break it down for you. You may be familiar with the policy that the Thomas Cooper Library has being open 24 hours in the lead up to finals. It used to not always be the case. The reason why that is because of legislation that I passed that had my name on it, that the Senate passed, that made that change happen. It's all about tangible change. It is all about making a difference where you can. Looking at other places, for example, from my time here in the Student Senate, I sponsored legislation that passed to ensure more regularity in the hours of the Solomon Blatt Center. I'm sure you've all been in a place before where you want to go work out at Blatt and you can't because it's the middle of the day and they're not open. My legislation that passed out of this body tried or sought to ensure that happened. Protecting game day traditions might be a bit before all y'all's time. At the beginning of every football game, they used to have a huge banner that said "Forever to Thee," and it would cascade down the student section. One of my favorite game day traditions, and they have since stopped it. Legislation that I passed recommended that they bring it back. Preserving our university's history. The South Caroliniana Library, you may not realize this, is the oldest standing library at a public university in the country. And prior to its renovation, which is very impressive I might say, it had, if you look up photos before the renovation of the library, it had busts of prominent figures and individuals. We're talking about university presidents. We're talking about congressmen who went to USC, people who represented learning and that were integral to the fortunes of the state and to the university. I passed legislation that ensured that those busts would go back up. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the submitted legislation, we'll be hearing more about that tonight. So folks, with that being said, when we're talking about leadership that's focused on getting things done, nobody is more focused on making tangible change and getting things done as Tyler Morgan is. And I appreciate in advance your support to be the next Speaker Pro Tem for the Student Senate. I will yield the question.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will now move to a roll call vote on the nominations. The clerk will call the roll. Please state the last name of the senator you wish to vote for. Just a reminder, the senators that are running are Senator Fry, Senator Ward, Senator Walker, and Senator Morgan. The clerk will call the roll.
Coleman. Kopp. Copeland. Cumby. Daly. DeLorenzo. Fry. Gary. Hamilton. Hargrave. Hodges. Holbert. Kluge. Knox. Kunkel. Lewis. Lorzy. Matthews. Modica. Morgan. Palmer. Parsons. Patel. Pearson. Peterson. Remkisson, Roach, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Spurgeon, Terhune, Paloka, Vaught, Walker, Ward, Ware, Young,
By a vote of 29 for Fry, 2 for Ward, 6 for Morgan, and 2 abstentions, the Speaker Pro Tempore is Senator Fry. Congratulations, Speaker Pro Tempore Fry. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or others the clerk will now read?
a communication from the Office of the Speaker to the Student Senate regarding the resignations of Corey Seo, Eliana Chambers, Adrian Mosley, and Turner Wilson.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President regarding the appointment of staff positions, Chief of Staff, Historian, Press Secretary, and Outreach Coordinator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of Student Body Vice President regarding the appointment of staff positions, Chief of Staff.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of Student Body Vice President requesting a 1-week extension following for the following positions, Director of Outreach.
The question is of a 1-week extension for the appointment of Director of Outreach. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The 1-week extension is approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, all petitions, appointments, or applications, or others, the clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of Student Body Vice President requesting a 1-week extension for the following position, Director of Programming.
The question is of a 1-week extension for the appointment of the Director of Programming. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The 1-week extension is granted. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of Student Body Vice President requesting a 1-week extension for the following positions, Director of Communications.
The question is of a 1-week extension for the appointment of Director of Communications. All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The 1-week extension is approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of Student Body Treasurer regarding the appointment of staff positions, Chief of Staff, Press Secretary, and Outreach Coordinator.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer concerning the appointment and creation of staff positions, Deputy Chief of Staff, Deputy Press Secretary, Chief Advisor, and Legislative Liaison.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Treasurer regarding Comptroller nominations, Chief Comptroller, Meg Duty, Comptroller Sophia Tawari and TJ Batchert.
The nominees are referred to the Finance Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate regarding the appointment of staff positions, Chief of Staff, Clerk, Legislative Aide, Outreach Coordinator, and Press Secretary.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, applications, appointments, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the appointment and creation of staff positions, Director of Internal Affairs.
Received. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the nominations of committee chairman. Academics, Logan Seitler. Finance, Tommy Spurgeon. Health and Safety, Emma Cumby. Judiciary, Preston Kunkel. Liberties and Representation, Gracie Sams. Powers and Responsibilities, Lena Luzery. Student Life, Tyler Terhune. And Sustainability, Morea Modica.
The question is of the approval of the nominations as chair of the committee and block. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The chairperson nominations are approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
Approval of the following committee assignments. Academics, Hannah Gary. Kevin Hargrave. Lena Luzery. Bradley Peterson. Amaya Ramkison. Yanjel Toloka. Finance, David Kopp. Maura Hamilton. Bill Kluge. Jackson Matthews. Tyler Morgan. Kelvin Pearson. Bradley Peterson. Angel Toloka. Jamila Ward. Ben Roach. Health and Safety. Amisha Colma. Ryan Daly. Kevin Hargrave. Joseph Hodges. Jordan Holbert. Bill Kluge. Trey Mosley. Andre Parsons, Gracie Sams, Logan Seitler, and Tyler Terhune. Judiciary, Davis Kopp, Carter Copeland, Matt Fry, Jackson Matthews, Tyler Morgan, Amaya Rankinson, Ben Roach, Brooke Walker, Peyton Ward, Logan Seitler. Liberties and Representations, Hannah Gary, Paige Knox, Trey Mosley, Jeremiah Palmer, Karan Patel, Isaiah Ware, Noah Young. Powers and Responsibilities, Emma Cumby, Nicole DeLorenzo, Matt Fry, Maura Hamilton, Maria Modica, Jamie Ryan, Isaiah Ware, Noah Young, and Tommy Spurgeon. Student Life, Misha Coleman, Carter Copeland, Ryan Daly, Lester Lewis, Jeremiah Palmer, Andrew Parsons, Kelvin Pearson, J.C. Bott, Brooke Walker, Jamila Ward, Preston Kunkel. Sustainability, Nicole DeLorenzo, Joseph Hodges, Paige Knox, Lester Lewis, Karan Patel, Ben Roach, and Tyler Terhune.
The question is of the approval of committee assignments. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The committee assignments are approved. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
Applications of Joseph Benegas, Grant Hunter, Joseph Wiseman, Landon Lyle, Rodolphe Villareza, Gavin Primus, Laney Moore, Abigail Gopal, Ahmed Iftikhar, Tanisha Porgeri, Chance Durant Asbury, Para Anderson, Trey Taylor, June Cullenton, Chandler Daly, Robert Albetel, Anina Rostam, Anderson Matthias, Bradley Gittens, Rachel Witherspoon, and Kyler Burhan to be seated in the 118th Student Senate.
The applications are referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on with the special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read? Seeing no more special orders of the Senate, we are now in line for the motion period. Are there any motions at this time? Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to add a bill to amend Chapter 4 of the Student Government Codes to the first reading calendar. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The bill is added to the first reading calendar and granted the legislative number of 1. Senator Fry. There's been a motion to add Senator Fry to the Finance Committee. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay, cool. Senator Ramkissoon. There's been a motion to remove Senator Ramkissoon from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Senator Walker. There's been a motion to remove Senator Walker from the Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to remove Senator Morgan from the Finance Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Hargrave. There's been a motion to remove Senator Hargrave from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Walker. There's been a motion to add Senator Walker to the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Gary. There's been a motion to remove Senator Gary from the Liberties and Representations Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Lousery. There's been a motion to remove Senator Lousery from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Morgan. There's been a resolution to add to the first. The motion will now move to appear. There's been a motion to object a motion of debate. It requires a two-thirds vote to pass. All those in favor of rejecting debate on this topic, say aye. All those opposed? The nays have it. We will now move into a period of debate. Any senator wishing to speak? Okay. Sorry. There's been a motion to add the resolution to the resolution to laud former Speaker Pro Tempore and Attorney General Ian A. Hurd on his upcoming graduation to thank him for his contributions from his time in student government. Oh, sorry. Is there a second? Oh, so move to that first before. Is the, There's been a second. Okay. There's been a motion to move to a period of debate. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? We will now move into a period of debate. Any senator wishing to speak may raise their placard. Senator Hamilton.
Hi, everybody. I don't know everybody in this room, but my name is Maura Hamilton for all of y'all who don't know me. I want to start off by just clarifying in no uncertain terms that I think the senator that this resolution is about, or former senator, is an amazing individual. I think that he did a bunch of great work in student government, and I absolutely support any sort of congratulations to him on a personal level. The reason that I objected and tried to move to a period of debate on this is in our codes, there are outlines for pieces of legislation about how they will be approved by our rules committee. Obviously, we didn't have a rules committee vote this week because we didn't have any chairpersons. I think that if this had gone through rules committee, it's my opinion and my interpretation of the codes that it would have failed. I will never know that because there was no rules committee. The part of this that's most concerning to me is it says in one of the dot clauses, sorry, a lot of tabs open, that the Senate, there's some language, and then it says rejects any negative accounts of him as falsehood and outright lies. Once again, absolutely support this senator or former senator as an individual, but I don't think it's a strong stance for the student senate to take that we're going to deny any negative assertion about this person as an outright lie and falsehood. So that's my only thing on that matter, and with that, I yield my time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Morgan.
The senator yields her time to questions. Are there any questions?
Senator Morgan.
Senator Morgan.
Yes, I'd be totally fine with that. When I move to the period of debate, it's just on adding it in its current form right now. So that's why.
In the same evening? No, because the way our rules of procedure works, our amendments are due by 12 o'clock today to be introduced. Oh, Senator Lewis. Granted. Are there any other questions? Seeing none. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Senator Morgan, you are recognized.
Wait, come out strong, y'all. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The bill before us, when you consider all the amazing work that Mr. Hurd did and put forth, and not only in this body, he also served in other branches of student government. He served as the Attorney General in the tax administration. He did a lot of good work. He was very, very smart. He knew a lot about the codes, and he was always on top of it. You couldn't get anything past him. He was, in my opinion, probably the best Speaker Pro Tem that this Senate has seen in its recent history. And I believe that while there may be reservations on the language that is put into this bill, I do think that overall, when you consider the overarching theme of this bill, 99% of it is good, and it would be a shame to reject this bill off of 99% content being good. I will yield the questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, thank you. There's been a motion to add a resolution to laud former Speaker Pro Tempore and Attorney General Ian A. Hurd on his upcoming graduation and thank him for his contributions for his time in student government. Point of information, Senator Morgan, if you have something to say, you could say it after. Please return to your seat. All those in favor of this legislation to be added to the first reading calendar, say aye. All those opposed? The nays have it. The bill will not be considered on the first reading calendar. Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to add a resolution to honor Richard Durlock of his many years of dedication to dance education at the University of South Carolina. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The bill is added to the first reading calendar and granted the legislative number 2. Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to add a resolution to express the frustration and disappointment of the student body over the state of the men's basketball team of the University of South Carolina. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? I'm sorry? Yes, we were going to move into that. We will now move into a roll call vote. The clerk will call the roll. Reminder, this is a motion to add a resolution to express the frustration and disappointment of the student body over the state of the men's basketball team of the University of South Carolina to the first reading calendar. The clerk will call the roll.
Coleman. Cobb. Copeland. Cumby. Daly. DeLorenzo. Fry. Gary. Hamilton. Hargrave. Hodges. Holbert. Luge. Knox. Kunkel. Lewis. Lisry. Matthews. Modica. Morgan. Palmer. Parsons. Patel. Pearson. Peterson. Remkison. Roach. Ryan. Sams. Seitler. Spurgeon. Terhune. Toluca. Vaught. Walker. Ward. Ward. Ware. Young.
By a vote of 6 ayes to 32 nays and 1 abstention, the nays have it. The bill will not be considered on the first reading calendar. Senator Morgan. Is there a motion to add a recommendation to follow up in ensuring the provisions passed in SBL 116-6 come to fruition in a timely manner? Is there a second? There was a motion, I'm sorry. Is there a second? To add to the first reading calendar. Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to move to a period debate. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We will now move to a period of debate on this topic. Any senators wishing to speak on this topic? Senator Hamilton. Senator Sams. Dismiss. Right now. Senator Hamilton, you're recognized.
Once again, just want to reemphasize kind of the same thing as the last one. I have no issues with the content itself of this piece. I agree that I think having the South Carolina anthem be sung at our sorting events would be a great idea, and I think it would be a good tradition, especially because I believe our school is lacking in a number of traditions compared to other schools in the SEC conference. My reason that I believe that this should not be added to the first reading calendar is that the recommendation itself already exists. And I would hate for the Student Senate to spend time focusing on legislation when there is a piece that has already been passed by the Student Senate of this university. And I'm sure that any administration would be happy to consider this piece as it's already existing. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Are there any senators wishing to speak on this topic? Senator Morgan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, quite honestly, I do not know why that this is a point of contention. The recommendation that was passed was over 2 terms ago, and we have not seen any movement whatsoever in those provisions. This is just a recommendation asking that, and it's following up, because let me say this. How many times have you sent an email to your faculty or to your professor asking them a question or asking for something to be changed or asking them to meet with them, and you don't hear back? People get busy. I understand that. That's what this bill is about. This recommendation is about. It's about following up and saying, in a nutshell, to the administration, we passed this 2 terms ago. We would love for you all, the Senate deems it important that you continue to look at making this a reality. To my knowledge, there has been nothing, there have been no actionable steps taken in the interim since then. And keep in mind, Madam Speaker, this was at the beginning of the 116th Student Senate, 11606. That's the legislation that was originally passed. This is a follow-up. So, again, folks, I'm going to give an example here of when you email a faculty member, and they don't get back to you. This is what this recommendation does. It's just saying, hey, we would love for you to continue to consider this and to continue to make this a reality. I yield the questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Senator Cumby.
Yes. When I was in the 116th Student Senate, I got nothing. I should also, I was going to point of information something, but I don't think I'd be recognized.
I could just recognize you anyway. Senator Cumby.
I would be more than willing to send an email myself, absolutely. I do think it is important that this legislation is considered because 2 years is a long time. That's half of somebody's undergraduate career. Things tend to get lost in, communications, and I understand that. So yes, I will send an email, no doubt. And I think that by me sending an email and by having the Senate consider and pass this legislation, it would underscore all the more that this is an important matter to the Senate.
Are there any other questions on the floor? Senator Hargrave? Granted. Senator Young?
Would the gentleman mind rephrasing the question? I'm not entirely sure I understand. Well, I think that passing this recommendation would be very, very strong, and it would go a long way in ensuring that, because if you notice, I put that, that was in a different recommendation. Either way, I think that bypassing this legislation, as well as putting more concerted effort this go round on advocating and making sure that that happens, those two things combined would result in a satisfactory, in this materializing and coming to fruition.
Are there any other questions for the senator? Senator Terhune.
Sure. Very good question. And it's like I mentioned earlier, I'll give the example again of reaching out to your faculty members or just anybody in general. You send me an email once, it might get lost. Send me an email twice and I'll see it. Again, the chances of somebody seeing something and responding to something and taking action, if they see it 2 or 3 times, it's the chances of that certainly go up. So I think that bypassing this legislation, it will show that we are intentional. We are very intentional. We are very serious, and this is the priority of the Student Senate, the Student Government Senate at USC, to have this happen.
Are there any other questions for the senator? Seeing none. Is there any other senators wishing to speak on this topic? Senator Lewis, you are recognized.
Let me just say this. I don't know what this is. I mean, let me just say one, 2 things. Just get this clear for a minute. We need to be professional in how we're treating our senators, and we need to be in a neutral, professional way. I don't know what this personal beef going on between these 2 senators, but I'm gonna stay neutral out of this and not getting involved in it.
The speaker validates the point of order and reminds Senator Lewis to speak respectfully with the rest of the body.
Okay. Speaking on this matter, it was a comment made up here by one of the people. They say, we shouldn't pass 2 pieces. That's a piece that's already been passed. But on the tape, on the Student Government YouTube channel, it says we can pass as many pieces we want on a topic. On the tape, it's there on there. They know who said it.
Point of information, that's just a precedent that was set by that Senate, not this one.
No, precedents carried from over time and time again. We have no rule or definition of when a precedent stops. So I'm just saying we need to be respectful and be nice to each other. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields his time to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any other senators wishing to debate on this topic? Senator Morgan, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Really sensitive mic, isn't it? Thank you, Madam Speaker. Something I forgot to add is that, we like to compare, as student government, we like to compare things to peer institutions within the SEC. I'll give an example. The University of Kentucky, they do this, they have this tradition. They play their state anthem, My Old Kentucky Home, at the beginning of their athletic events. The University of Maryland, although it's not a peer institution, this bill took inspiration from that. Unlike the state of Maryland, our state anthem has no controversial lyrics and points to the history and the beauty of the state of South Carolina. Non-controversial, would be an amazing tradition. And we just heard one of the senators come up here and say the content of this bill they find no fault in, and that they would wish that the university would have more traditions. This would be a great place to start. And with that being said, Madam Speaker, let's do the right thing. Let's get this on the first reading calendar so it can even be considered. Thank you. I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on this topic? Seeing none. There's been a motion to add a recommendation to follow up in ensuring the provisions passed in SBL 116-6 come to fruition in a timely manner. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The nays have it. The bill will not be considered on the first reading calendar. Senator Hodges. There's been a motion to remove Senator Hodges from the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Kopp. There's been a motion to remove Senator Kopp from the Finance Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Point of information, Judiciary actually got moved an hour back and is now 7 o'clock on Tuesdays, not 6 o'clock, just in case that does anything for me. Senator DiLorenzo. There's been a motion to remove Senator DiLorenzo from Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Ryan. There's been a motion to move Senator Ryan into the Darla Moore School of Business delegation. Is there a second? Yes. All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The senator is now in the Darla Moore School of Business delegation. Senator Copeland. There's been a motion to remove Senator Copeland from Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Fry. There's been a motion to remove Senator Fry from Judiciary Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Kluge. We have 1 moment, let me make sure there's an extra. There's been a motion to move Senator Kluge to the Darla delegation. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. Senator Kluge is now under the Darla Moore School of Business delegation. Senator Modica. There's been a motion to remove Senator Modica from Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Copeland. You have to be in at least one committee, and you can be in up to 3 committees. Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to add Senator Lewis to Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Lewis. There's been a motion to remove Senator Lewis from Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to add a bill to formally codify the name of the Student Government Scholarship Award to the first reading calendar for consideration. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. We will now move to a roll call vote. A reminder, we're voting on the motion to move a bill to formally codify the name of the Student Government Scholarship Award to the first reading calendar for consideration. Aye is in favor of putting this bill onto the first reading calendar. Nay is in favor of not. The clerk will call the roll.
Coleman. Kopp. Copeland. Cumby. Bailey. DiLorenzo. Fry. Gary. Hamilton. Hargrave. Hodges, Holbert, Luge, Knox, Kunkel, Lewis, Rosary, Matthews, Monica, Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Remkeson, Roach, Ryan, Sams, Seitler, Spurgeon, Terhune, Paloka, Vaught, Walker, Ward, Ward, Ware, Young.
With a vote of 16 yeas, 12 nays, and 10 abstentions, the bill will not be considered on the first reading calendar. The motion takes a 2/3 vote. Senator Lewis. Without a 2/3 vote of the senators present and voting is all of you guys here, and then also the proxies you're representing. A total of that is 39. So the 2/3 vote was 26. When you abstain, you give away your vote completely. You're not going to one side or the other. Senator Morgan. There's been a motion. Is there a motion to suspend the rules for 2 minutes so I can check that motion? Senator Seitler. Is there a motion to recess for a period of 2 minutes? I don't think you can object. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. We will recess for 2 minutes. I will now come to order again. Yes, but I have to answer the motion to reconsider first. Oh, okay, sure. Everyone back? Who are we missing? Okay. There's been a motion to reconsider the question of adding a bill to formally codify the name of the Student Government Scholarship Award to the first reading calendar for consideration. Yeah. The vote for that. And if you were- Yes. It does. They were not, the motion is not heard. It's Robert's rules. If it's not stated in our rules of procedure, then Robert's rules take over. Senator Lewis? Yes. Is there a motion to reconsider? Is there a motion to reconsider the legislation going on to the first reading calendar? Okay, Senator Walker. Granted. Senator Sams. Heard but not recognized. Okay. We are still in Senator Morgan. We are still in the motion period. Does any other senator have a motion? Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to add a recommendation to allow part-time students to have similar ticketing rights as full-time students to the first reading calendar for consideration. Is there a second? All those in favor, Senator Seitler? There's been a motion to debate putting this recommendation on the first reading calendar. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes. We will now move into a roll call vote. The ayes will go towards if you want to move into a period of debate on this matter. The nays will go towards voting right on the matter. The clerk will now call the roll.
Coleman, Hop, Copeland, Cumby, Daly, DeLorenzo, Fry, Gary, Hamilton, Hargrave, Hodges, Colbert, Kluge, Knox, Uncle, Lewis, Losery, Matthews, Monica, Morgan, Palmer, Parsons, Patel, Pearson, Peterson, Ramkison, Roach, Ryan, Sams, Zeitler, Spurgeon, Terhune, Paloka, Bott, Walker, Ward, Ware, Young,
Twelve yeas, 21 nays, and 3 abstentions. We will not be debating on this motion. There's been a motion to add a recommendation to allow part-time students to have similar ticketing rights as full-time students. All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The bill is added to the first reading calendar and granted the legislative number of 3. Continuing on with the motion period. Are there any other motions on the floor? Senator Kunkel. Senator Spurgeon. There's been a motion to add a bill to increase the number of members of the Student Government Outreach Team to the first reading calendar for consideration. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The bill is added to the first reading calendar and is granted the legislative number 4. Are there any other motions at this time? Senator Gary. There's a motion to add Senator Gary to the Health and Safety Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Spurgeon. There's been a motion to add a bill to increase the number of members of the Student Government Outreach Team to the first reading calendar. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The ayes have it. The bill is added to the first reading calendar and granted the legislative number of 5. Are there any other motions? Senator Lewis. There's a motion to remove Senator Lewis from the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Spurgeon. There's been a motion to add Senator Spurgeon to the Judiciary Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Are there any other motions on the floor at this time? Seeing no more motions, is there a motion to dispense of the motion period? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now on the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will now read.
Bill 118.01, a bill to amend Chapter 4 of Student Government Codes.
Senator Hamilton, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hey y'all, hopefully the last time that you'll hear from me tonight, and I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. So a little bit of background for people that don't know me. This is my 4th year in student government. I joined student government when I was a freshman, so I have seen 4 election cycles. A majority of this bill is honestly just small, like nitpicky things that have to do with grammar, where things were located inside of the piece, so no content changes at all on that end. The only major content change that I put in here was adding a line, I believe it is section 4260C3, stating members of the freshman council may not be members of a candidate or tickets campaign staff until after the campaign period begins. The reason that I think that this would be an effective addition to our codes is in my 4 years in student government, I have seen every single year elections turn into a social competition inside student government. It's not the point to me of elections. Our job is to be student representatives on all levels, regardless of if you're a senator or an executive member. As part of being a membership of freshman council, for those of you who are new here, that's essentially something first-year students at Carolina can apply to join in, and they basically get like an unbiased approach to student government where they're able to shadow and learn a bunch about different branches of our organization. I have seen every single year a select number of freshman council members get tapped early in campaigning or when people are talking about campaigning to be put on a campaign team, and a majority of them to not be. That typically leads to social struggles for those freshman council members. People feel insecure. They feel like they have done something wrong to not be tapped and things like that. And most importantly, it takes away from the purpose of being in freshman council. Typically, in my experience, it takes away the whole last 2.5 months of freshman council because those who are tapped to join an election focus their time on elections. Those who don't feel stressed about elections and feel like they did something wrong to not be tapped. I definitely want them to still be able to experience elections because I think that's a really invaluable experience. And I definitely learned a lot throughout my 4 years of campaigning for different positions in student government, but allowing them to join after the campaigning period begins allows them to get the full experience of being a freshman council member. And I also added at the very bottom, we didn't have anything in about Elections Commission essentially publicizing the list of who was running and for what position. So first off, that's just so any student at this university can access a list and see who they're dealing with before, the actual ballot comes out. But second off, for freshman council members, they'll be able to receive that information and make an educated decision about whose campaign they would like to join. With that, I yield my time to questions.
The senator yields their time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Lewis.
I think my response to that would be that's kind of the way it works with any elections violation. Like you need proof of a violation to have happened. So I agree with you that I will never be able to speak as to what people make in their campaign decisions when they're behind closed doors and there is no proof of it. But to me, this protects freshman council members. Like they wouldn't be a part of campaign meetings. They wouldn't be in any campaign group chats if they were seen doing campaigning things before the campaign period begins. There would be proof of it, and that would be a violation. The same way there would be for any other one. Does that answer your question?
Point of information, to ask a second question, you must raise your placard and be recognized again. Senator Lewis.
So if you go down to C4 in the same section where I'm adding the freshman council thing, it says in the codes an individual who operates on behalf of a particular candidate with the candidate's knowledge, direction, or encouragement shall be considered a member of that candidate's campaign staff. And there's similar language when you go further down into when it gets into like campaign tickets. I am not a member of Elections Commission. I will not be a member of Elections Commission, but part of their job is to interpret the elections codes. It seems to me like it would be a logical assumption that if somebody was attending campaign meetings and was in a group chat that was campaign team members, that they would be judged a member of that, and that would be how they would reach that decision. But once again, like I'm not a part of Elections Commission, so I can't speculate, but that seems logical on my end.
Are there any other questions for the senator? Senator Roach.
Two answers to that. First and foremost, I do just want to clarify, like, I definitely want freshman council members to be able to be involved with campaigns. I think that they would have a great opportunity to be involved when it comes to the actual active campaign period, through tabling or going to meetings or whatever that may be. When it comes to the question of freshman council members who would be resigning just to be a part of a campaign team, I have two answers to that. I think that it's easy to change like the status quo. And if this bill was to pass in a few years, freshman council members would never know that it was an option for them to be a part of a campaign. It was actually that way for a number of years, and we only changed that quite recently. So I don't think there would be a want to resign just to be a part of a campaign team. And I also think that, in my personal opinion, if you are a member of freshman council and you are choosing to resign from the experience that you're receiving as being a member just to be a part of a campaign team, that's a personal decision that you would be making. And I don't know if you're necessarily getting out of freshman council what is intended.
Are there any other questions for the senator? Senator Lewis.
I'm not understanding the question. To me, the thing that stands out about freshman council as opposed to a different, student in student government is that freshman council, they're supposed to be getting like an unbiased, holistic review of student government. Holistic review, that's what I use in admissions. But for lack of a better word, holistic understanding of how student government works and to be able to shadow unbiased. And so I think that this kind of protects them and allows them to continue to have that type of experience. If a student government member who's older and more experienced chooses to join a campaign team, I would also hope that they're more committed to the position that they were appointed or elected to, and they would be focusing on that instead of campaigning.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee.
Oh, God. Sorry, y'all.
Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar.
SBL 11802, a resolution to honor Richard Durlock for his many years of dedication to dance education at the University of South Carolina.
Senator Morgan, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Thank you, Madam. Lord. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to give a shout out and give the honor due to Mr. Richard Durlock. Mr. Richard Durlock is a retired engineer and HVAC technician, but boy can he dance. He can dance as well as anybody else. And he has spent his time in his retirement years teaching dance classes at the University of South Carolina associated with the physical education department. And I had the privilege to be a part of his ballroom dancing class last semester and his shag dancing class this semester. I can teach you guys a thing or two about shagging. It's a great dance. It's a lot of fun. But obviously, I learned from the best. Mr. Durlock is second to none. And if you read the legislation, I say his patience, experience, and robust skill set are able to transform even the most timid or uncoordinated, that was me, individuals into dancers of considerable skill. And it's one of those classes that I always look forward to going into, and I always have a great time. So I would ask the Senate, let's do the right thing. Let's pass this bill. I will yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to pass SBL 118-2 by unanimous consent. Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
Yep. Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar.
SBL 11803, a recommendation to allow part-time students to have similar ticketing rights as full-time students.
Senator Morgan, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This recommendation before us is something that, it pertains to something that I was not aware of until this semester. Let me give you guys some context. To be a full-time student at USC, you need to be enrolled in 12 credit hours or more, okay? So I was enrolled in 12 credit hours. I've taken all the classes I need for my major because I'm a senior, so I'm taking all my electives. And this semester, I'm under 12 credit hours. So I'm sure you can imagine how shocked I was and how, considerably irate I was when I found out that I've lost ticketing privileges to go to the men's, women's, and baseball games, men's, women's, basketball, and baseball games. Now, anybody who goes to those games, and this also applies to football as well, anybody who goes to those games knows that you don't have to pay for those tickets, provided that you are full-time. You make the request. It's done through lottery, whole 9 yards. As a matter of fact, we are one, if we're not the only one, we're one of 2 SEC schools that gives free, that includes football tickets in tuition for students. We don't have to pay separately, which is a blessing. It really is. And I, like many people, am a huge fan of our women's basketball team. I think they're amazing and they do amazing things, and I love to go watch them play. But I was not even able to consider, I was ineligible to even request a ticket for women's basketball or baseball or men's basketball this semester because I'm under 12 credit hours. And so with that being, unless I wanted to pay $150 to the university to make myself eligible. Now, folks, we, like I mentioned earlier, we talk about peer institutions all the time. So my proposition is modeled, or it took inspiration from the University of Georgia. What they do, let me pull up the page. Internet is so slow. There you go. For example, UGA, undergraduate students, and this is for football, students taking less than 12 hours are eligible to make requests for tickets. So they give those part-time students the chance to even request. We don't do that here. And they give those students the chance to request tickets. Now, they do fall below the status and priority. They fall below freshmen, but they're still eligible to be considered. And so that's something similar is what this bill would seek to, or this recommendation, if I'm being technical, would seek to do. And it's asking that we reform the seniority point system. I'm sure you all know that based on your class, based on your standing, you get X number of athletic points at the start of the year. And so it's asking that that be reformed, that part-time students be given the opportunity to request tickets to no more than 2 football games that are home. And I think that's quite considerable, seeing that we play 6 or 7, sometimes maybe even 8 home football games a year. It's also suggesting that part-time students be given the opportunity, and again, I want to be very clear, this legislation does not guarantee that part-time students will get it. It just gives them the shot to get their foot in the door and even make a request without paying the additional $150. And it's about standing up for those who, you know, have lives that don't allow them to attend here full-time, that still want to go to athletic events. So again, this bill would say part-time students are given the opportunity to request tickets for no more than half of home baseball games, no more than 30% of men's basketball home games, no more than 20% of women's basketball home games. I did make women's lower because those tend to be higher demand because they are actually good. So with that being said, Madam Speaker, I will happily yield the questions.
The senator yields their time to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Senator Young.
Meant to be 2, I'm sorry. And I would, to that note, I would, instead of tabling it for an amendment to be written, I would be more than happy to refer this out of first reading and have the committee, that whoever it gets assigned to that committee, if it gets to that point, I think that would be appropriate for the committee to do.
Point of information, all legislation on the first reading calendar gets committed to a committee unless it is tabled or passed by unanimous consent. Are there any other questions? Senator Seitler.
I appreciate the senator's point of information.
Are there any other questions? Senator Terhune.
I'm sorry. To answer your question, I am not aware of whether that same semestrial fee applies to graduate students. But you were, would you be able to reiterate the information you were saying? I'm sorry. Got it. Got it. From the research I compiled in writing this, that is what I saw. And again, if we're going to be tricky on the semantics here, I'd be more than willing to have it amended. But that is from what my research yielded. It appeared to me that it would be on a semester basis. I might be wrong, but.
Are there any other questions? Senator Lewis.
I think we should. I think we should be able to. I would have to take a closer look at the stats and figures, but I cannot imagine that the percent of part-time students would be significantly comparable to the full-time students at USC. And then when you go even further within that subset of part-time students who are actively fiending and wanting to attend these games, I think that without looking at the stats, my common sense would tell me that we're talking about such a small subset of students like myself that I don't think that would be an issue.
Are there any other questions? Senator Hamilton.
Correct. No. And I will tell you, the softball team and I have become very well acquainted, and rightfully so, because those girls can play. They're good. But, you know, we're talking about softball, soccer for both genders. We're talking about track and field. Those things I would, as a part-time student, be able to attend, but so would you. So would everybody else. The divide is baseball, both genders, basketball, and football.
Senator Hamilton.
Correct. Or, well, they're free for the students. I think it's like $5 or $10 if you're not a student, but like it's negligible in price. Yeah.
Senator Terhune.
So it would be, in responding to that point of information, am I correct in my understanding that if I were, I don't know, an MBA or a JD candidate and I wanted to go to a football game and I was part-time, I don't know how being part-time in law school would work, but are you saying that I also I would be in the same predicament that I am currently in my undergrad? Is that what you're saying? Like, if I was part-time and I was a grad student, I also would not be able to attend those games? You would have to pay. I'd be willing to amend it so that that something is explicitly mentioned that it's part-time students, both undergrad and graduate students, if that's what you're getting at. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, this legislation is now referred to the Student Life Committee. Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar, a bill to increase the number of members of the Student Government Outreach Team. Chairman Spurgeon, you are recognized to speak on this. Granted. Speak on this legislation.
Hi guys. So all this does is revert back to the number of committee members on the outreach team that we had from before the last code edits, as requested by the vice president. We feel that more people would be highly beneficial. Just allows them to.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Hamilton.
Outreach? Did I say communications? I messed up. Line 5 should be red. That's good.
Senator Cumby.
Okay. No more than 5. 5 would be the limit.
Point of information, if what is supposed to be added is black and not red, it is not in the correct format for a bill and will not be entered correctly. Are there any other questions? Senator Lewis.
Zero. It wasn't in.
What is your question?
I didn't cross out anything. I just added a fifth line for the outreach team to the shall consist of.
Yeah, there were no outreach team members before this. Just the outreach coordinators and then the director of outreach. Senator Lewis.
Yes.
Senator Hamilton. By a period of 1 week. There's been a motion to carry over the legislation to next week. Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed. The SBL 118-04 will be carried over to next week. Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar. SBL 118-5, a bill to increase the number of members of the Student Government Communications Team. Chairman Spurgeon, you are recognized to speak on this legislation.
I misspoke. This is the one where we're reverting back to what it was before, being 5 members, but it was not. For the questions.
The chairman yields their time to questions. Are there any questions? Senator Lewis.
At the request of the student body vice president.
Point of order, Senator Lewis, you have to be recognized to speak again. Senator Lewis.
Yeah. It's necessary to support a more strategic use of the social media platform, ensure that you have multiple people who are all students, busy with work, all accessible. More team members to ensure accuracy, cross-check, produce more content. With only 3 members, it limits capacity pretty severely. You can find many times where you'll only have 1 person there if 2 people are busy at any given time or any given week. Expanding the team to 5 provides a lot more flexibility. You can have meetings that allow 1 person to miss without it only being 2 people scrambling to put something together. The additional members are responsible for creating increasing digital content access, graphics, videos, any kind of media. It's highly important to interact with the student body.
Are there any other questions? Senator Hamilton. Are there any other questions? Senator Lewis.
The person who runs the office and who was elected by the student body to provide these goals and this service to the student body feels that 3 is inadequate. As they're going through the planning process and gearing up for the next year, they don't feel that's enough.
Are there any other questions for the senator? Seeing none. Sorry. Seeing none, the legislation is now referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on with the call of the first reading calendar. Hearing none, that completes the call of new legislation. We are now on the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of the uncontested legislation. We are now on the call of the contested calendar. The clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of the contested legislation. We are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Senator Morgan, you are recognized.
You're going to learn one of these times, folks. I swear, I promise. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in this open discussion period to express my discontent, but also my disappointment at the refusal to even debate a bill, the bill that I put forward to change the name of the Student Government Leadership and Scholarship Award. And I was going to change it to name it after Senator Lewis, the distinguished gentleman from the College of Arts and Sciences, one of our own. One of our own. And the Senate refused to take it up. Now, Madam Speaker, I will point out why I did that. Mr. Lewis has shown that he is more than deserving to have his name on that award. More specifically, Madam Speaker, the bill, I believe, would have been changed under that legislation to the Lester Lewis II Award for Outstanding Contributions in Scholarship, Leadership, and Service. That is what he has done, folks. To name a few things. Number one, you got a lot of internal stuff going on that he has done, and I'm not going to get into that. But what I will get into, just real quick, 3 things. Advocating and fighting for the student body is what he has done, and he is more than deserving to have his name on that award, and it is a shame that we did not take it up tonight. Fighting for kosher food options for Jewish students in the residence halls for dining. Ensuring meal deals in the cockpit at athletic games. Water bottle filler stations all over campus, fighting dehydration. Y'all know how hot it gets in Columbia? And yet, we didn't take that up tonight. Madam Speaker, I am appalled and I am disgusted that we refuse to even debate putting it on the first reading calendar, and I yield to the will. Oh, do you have a question? I will yield to a question from you, Brooke.
Senator Walker, you are recognized.
Yes, I do. At least, that's my opinion. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't have written it.
Are there any other questions?
I yield to the will.
Does any other senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Chairwoman Sams. Senator yields to questions. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Senator Cumby. Are there any other announcements from the floor? I recognize myself. Thank you guys so much for the first session. This is our amazing staff that is going to keep everything organized for you guys. The papers that you got before this has all their contacts, why to contact them, and then where to submit things, when to submit them, and when they're due. And then also just like a motion cheat sheet. Both of these are online in the Senate folder under Rules of Procedure. Also, Yep, actually, I yield my time to questions. Hearing none. With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, guys, sorry, it's not adjourned yet. Without objection, the Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. Okay, now you're good. Thank you, guys. If you have anything, just let me know.